I'm lucky enough to lead a quite interesting, if complicated, life, and so experience a huge range of privileges. The opening of a Salzburg festival, the opening of a London Royal Academy show, the Madonna sex book party, or Hollywood's Grammy Awards, even extremes like an old Monty Python premiere, or an archbishop's party in his palace to celebrate Mozart. For me, such events have been work, but for others, they suggest real status. In the same, travelling to some is how you travel, rather more than where you get there. And in the early years, I certainly used to fly Concorde when the crews themselves got a buzz out of it. And you earn a lot of points if you travel on the Orient Express. All these statuses matter, but nothing, absolutely nothing prepares you for the excitement and the glory of a Ferrari F40. When Ferrari celebrated its 39th year, Enzo requested a brand new model, the ultimate machine, to celebrate the company's great 40th year. Just 12 months later, the 89-year-old unveiled the stunning F40, and it would be the last he would unveil. It would be the last new car he would see before he died, but it made a perfect tribute to his life's work. The goal was to create a race car quality with style and coding from the legendary 250 LM. It was achieved in a single year by basing it on the 288 and elements of the 328, plus F1 technology, which of course they were accruing all the time. It was designed by Pininfarina and built between 1987 and 1990. Initially, it announced that they were just going to have 400 cars and £160,000 each. That was a lot for the time, but it still caused 3,000 requests and deposits. Profiteering, unfortunately, pushed the value of these cars up to £1 million. And so Ferrari increased production to just over 1,000 in order to ease the demand. This is probably the most beautiful body in motoring. It's Pininfarina at its best, and it isn't just pretty, it's aggressive. Every panel oozes a single-mindedness. It only has one intention, and that's to travel fast. Some of the stylings, such as these rear ducts and the fin, are naturally here to help keep that much power on the ground. Under the plexiglass, that is power. That is a devastatingly fast 32-valve twin-turboed V8, enlarged from 2.855 through to virtually 3 in order to deliver a stunning 478 brake horse. Everything about this car is designed for performance. The trim is extremely basic. There are no pretenses of luxury, even though it is an icon. The only privilege you have is you have full air conditioning. And believe me, with an engine as powerful as this behind, you truly need it. There is a key, and the key does deal with the fuel and with the electrics. But the actual engine and the button to another world is this one. Classic Ferrari gearbox. Don't put it in first, it's reverse. Hang on. It is actually remarkably nimble. Although there's not exactly the sort of silence that would allow you to have a CD player. The music itself is all from the V8, all from the twin turbos. The car itself is incredibly light. It's almost the same weight as a Golf VW. Just as Pininfarina's styling gives it all the aggression that one would hope of a sports supercar. So its performance and its manner is the same. It's moody, it's disinterested, it's very listless. Around these sort of revs, we're running at 2 at the moment, it really isn't terribly interested. There are lots of lightweight, smaller sports cars which are a lot more fun. But the moment you put your foot down, the thing becomes suicidal up to about 7,500 revs. There's no pretending in this car. 0 to 60 is in 3.6 seconds, and here we go. That's scary, but it's actually what the F40 does absolutely brilliantly. The brakes, needless to say, are enormous. They're drilled, they're ventilated, they're a huge size, and they're air ducted just to make sure that you do get some kind of stopping power with all this surge. You read write-ups that tell you that it's docile and it's sweet, and certainly if you drive it at these speeds, it will behave itself. But it doesn't enjoy it, and it's rough and it's bumpy. It really only knows one thing, and that is being the fastest Ferrari they've ever made for the road. Well, finally I can add an F40 to my street credentials. The trouble is, not everyone is impressed by the same thing. For some, a little blue Peter badge does just as well.
The car to be seen in these days seems to be an SUV, sports utility vehicle. You see them everywhere. Toyota's RAV4, the Honda CR-V, the Subaru Forester. More fashion statement than serious. Not as huge or as expensive as the rugged off-roaders. Just fun, flirty things that look the business. The problem comes when you try to do the business in them. Off-road? Forget it. Just imagine if some clever manufacturer could combine that funky styling, practicality with genuine off-road ability and wrap it up all in one neat little package. What, like this you mean? This is the Land Rover Freelander. This is the rather sensible 5-door station wagon, but there's also a particularly gorgeous 3-door version that comes with a removable hardtop, or would you believe a convertible option. Under the bonnet you can choose from a 2-litre diesel that's used in the Rover 6 and 800, or this 1.8-litre petrol that you'll find powering the MGF. And once you've decided whether to go for the 3 or the 5-door, whether you want the soft or the hard top, you've chosen the engine you want, and you've picked one of the 14 colours or 14 interiors, then your problems have only just begun. Accessorise. You know how accessories finish off a look so well. Well, Land Rover have produced over 100 extra items specially designed for Freelander, so you can personalise it to suit your own tastes. A kind of expensive Meccano kit for grown-up boys and girls. Once your decision's made, even if you decide just to go for the basic model, the Freelander really does turn heads. And it's not just out of curiosity to see what Land Rover's new baby looks like. It stands out on the road for all the right reasons. It's macho looking with bulges in all the right places, but it's not too large or bulky looking. In fact, it's actually deceptively small because the Discovery really isn't that much larger. Although it's an all-new vehicle, you know instantly what family the Freelander is from. And just in case you're in any doubt about this vehicle's heritage, then there are plenty of logos around to remind you. Once inside the Freelander, you get a very pleasant surprise. You're greeted by something that seems to have been designed instead of stuck in as a bit of an afterthought. The Freelander design team have obviously realised that us drivers actually spend more time looking at the interior of a vehicle than we do the exterior. But my advice, if you're looking to make a real style statement, is to go for the Freelander 3-door. It has a wonderful interior. Exposed rivets and colour-coded paintwork everywhere. Very industrial, very 90s. Practicality hasn't been forgotten either. There are cubby holes, map nets and pockets everywhere. There's even a lockable hidey hole under the floor in the back, and there's also a power socket. Both driver and passengers have plenty of room, and although the boot isn't huge, folding down the split rear seats is an absolute breeze. See, nothing to it, and it gives you loads more space. One very useful feature is the electronically operated window on the tailgate. What will they think of next? So it's practical, and I'm sure you'll agree it's perfect for posing in. But let's get back to performance. The first thing you notice is that the Freelander really does feel like a car. You could easily be in the Rover 600, but that's not a bad thing. What it means is that you instantly feel at home behind the wheel. Everything feels familiar, you're just a bit higher up than normal. Around town the visibility really is excellent, and the power steering makes it extremely easy to park. Out on the open road it feels solid. It's a comfortable ride rather than a sporty ride because of the softer suspension. But the steering is direct, and there's just a hint of body roll on these country roads. The performance you'll get from this 1.8 litre petrol engine isn't going to set you on fire, but having said that, it is quite lively. Drive the Freelander in a relaxed, easy-going way, and it won't disappoint you. Oh, I nearly forgot. What about the rough stuff? As they say, here's one I made earlier. As you can see, Daddy Discovery can be very proud of baby Freelander's off-road prowess. Particularly if you get a little optional extra fitted hill descent control. A clever little device that when engaged controls the anti-lock brakes, limiting your speed to 5.6 miles per hour. And if it senses a particularly nasty bit coming up, that speed slows down even more to 4.4 miles per hour. This clever gizmo, together with electronic traction control, a tail shaft with a viscous coupling and front and rear diffs with slightly different gearing mean that if you want to go mud plugging, the Freelander will be well up for it. This isn't the cheapest, the fastest or the best equipped vehicle in its class, but the Freelander offers by far the best overall package. First of all, it catches your eye and then it delivers the goods. Nobody could accuse the Freelander of making promises it can't live up to. If only everything in life were like that.
I'm here today to visit the manufacturer of a British car that's been around for 62 years. 2 years ago, that company had no future, until in stepped a gallant Jonathan Haynes who turned the company round. What is that company? Well, actually it's Reliant, but don't laugh because it's a good story. I'm talking now to Jonathan Haynes, the Managing Director of Reliant. In March 1996, things were looking pretty grim for Reliant, then you came along. Why?
Well, in 95, the end of 95, the company went into administration, and the administrators put the company up for sale, and we had several people who were interested in Reliant, and I formed a small team around me, and we did our due diligence, and by March we made up our mind that this was a company which could be turned around. It was a unique opportunity to acquire a company which has got 65 years of British motoring heritage behind it, and it was on a substantial site with an extremely good trading record. in the UK. We've got a niche market with the passenger cars, but I feel that there is another niche market with the small commercial courier vans, courier pickups, particularly for London and inner cities in Europe. And we have a unique turning circle, the same as a London taxi, 24 feet, doesn't scratch, doesn't rust, and frankly they go on forever.
I must say they do look very smart, all nice and new, with these racy wheels and new trim. Tell me more about them. Who are you aiming them at?
Well, traditionally, motorbike license holders have been our main customer base, but with the commercial side, we think that small businesses, in fact I know small businesses will take the car, perhaps window cleaners, small plumbing companies and that type of thing, which have already shown a lot of interest.
So we're in the factory now. Can you explain a bit about the production line?
Yes, on a single weekly shift we've got a capacity for over 30 vehicles as it stands at the moment, with our current labour loading. And behind me we bring the cars in from our paint shop, and then traditionally what I call a pre-mount line, and then we go to a mounting track which is on this side, and then on to a final finish area. And then from here the cars go to road test and water test, and for any rectification that needs to be done, and then to a dispatch bay and PDI, and then the dealers come to collect the cars from the factory.
And the cars and the commercials go down the same line?
Yes, they do. We keep them slightly segregated left to right, but the whole idea is to build the cars with the same people, the same skills, down a single production line.
Your name's not just associated with Reliant. You were involved in the motor industry before that, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I was previously at Jaguar Cars, and started at Jaguar in 1964 as a student apprentice, and I worked my way through various departments at Jaguar for 25 years, and then I left in 1990 and set up my own business, which was quite successful, and then it gave me the opportunity to purchase into Reliant.
As you say, there is a great following amongst the owners, the very loyal owners, but it's one of the British characteristics that people like to knock a success, and Reliant's had its degree of knockers. Tell me why they're wrong.
Well, they're certainly wrong. I think I expect a lot of people who perhaps knock the product probably haven't tried the product. Certainly when you drive the three-wheel car, it feels no different at all to a four-wheel car. And it's extremely nippy, and handles well, and I would say please come and try the car before you knock it.
Obviously, as you said, you've built four-wheelers, but why three wheels? What's special about three wheels rather than four?
Well, in the immediate sense, three wheels has got the advantage that it's a £60 licence fee per year rather than £150 currently being used, and it's also extremely lightweight. Of course, if you're saving weight of the fourth wheel, and again, that's attractive in terms of the weight limits which we have to do to get our performance right.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to buy a second-hand car manufacturer?
Buy one. It's probably the unique opportunity to do it, and frankly, there aren't many left to buy.
Hello again, it's Roy Brooks once more, and you're in my garage where it's all nice and warm and cosy and lots of bits and pieces for you to have a look at. Right, this week it's going to be a picture, and I think it's a super little picture too. Here we are, just look at that, because it's of a Singer Junior 848 1929. At least that's what my researchers say, and funnily enough, on the back it says, "With love from Dilly's 1929, so I hope I'm going to be right. Interesting features. It's the first of the Singers with rather four-wheel brakes, because they previously had two-wheel brakes. Notice that the petrol filler cap, bit hard to see, but it's in front of the windscreen there. And you know, those are very dangerous, those things. I once saw a car set on fire through being overfilled with a petrol filler there, spilled onto the engine, the hot engine, went up in flames. We've also got the tie rod here between the front wings, just to stop the front wings from flapping. Just let's look at the fixed starting handle down here. Then the starting handle, of course, was the where the motor car will be started, not like just pressing the starter these days, we always do. We have a fixed handle to get out and swing it rather quickly. We also can see only just the registration letters, either EU or FU. EU was Breconshire and FU was parts of Lindsay. So there we are, that's the nice little photograph. You see these occasionally these days at flea markets and so on, and I reckon this would be well worth £5 to £10. Hello there, this is Roy Brooks here, telling you about a very interesting event which is going to take place on Sunday, November 29th at the G-Mex Centre in Manchester. The Northern Classic Car Show and the Four Wheels programme is going to be there. It could well be, you know, that you've got some mysterious motoring object, you don't know what it does, where it's from and so on. We're delighted to try and sort it out for you. So, we look forward to seeing you at the Northern Classic Car Show, the 29th of November, that's a Sunday, and believe me, you'll have a good time if you come along and see us. So, cheerio!